Thank you so much. I want to welcome our audience to today's presentation. We're going to discuss policy changes in the year of 2025 and 2026, and also its implication on importers and exporters. A good audience, we hope that you're able to benefit from today's presentation. At this point, I would want to introduce first myself. I'm Brian Kiza, a customs officer at Trade, but I also want to introduce my panelists of today. I want them to do the introductions themselves and also welcome the audience as well to this discussion. So, good morning. Good morning, viewers and listeners. My name is Jude. I'm sharing a discovery of Talib, and I hope that we can have a very fruitful liberation this morning. Good morning. I'm President Masiko, the supervisor of international affairs. Also, it is a pleasure being here today. For us to go through changes for this current director working at more and learn from each other. Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, our panelists. As tradition has it, every financial year we have adjustments that are made by customs, and of course the idea is to make sure that we're able to support our economy through our tax policy. And maybe Mr. Naskokuki can take us through the essence of these tax policy changes in line with our economy and how it will come in hand to support economic development. Thank you very much, Moderator. As you mentioned, this is the current budget cycle that we are now in. The theme of the budget is full monetization of the dollars economy, through commercial agriculture, industrialization, expanding manufacturing services, digital transformation, and internet access. This is the 72.3 trillion budget, with an economy of 61.3 billion. This economy is expected to grow by 2040 to 500 billion. We are hoping that whatever we are going to do today is going to steer the economy towards this growth. The country is regulations on raw materials, specifically on the items that are used in construction works. Item number one is scaffolding. Uganda has built capacity in scaffolding. Scaffolding is material used by builders to build buildings. And the companies that are manufacturing scaffolding are getting the emission from the items that we use in the manufactured scaffolding materials, which will save the environment. Food that are going to be hard, scaffolding being recycled item, which are being sold to the country. So the emission is from 25 to 0 for 1 year for manufactured scaffolding. The other issue is on melamine resins. Melamine is used in the manufacture of kitchenware, more specifically the bowls, the soup pans, the plates, and these melamine resins will be reduced from 10% to 0 for manufacture of plates and bowls. So we have a lot of capacity, but we have a lot of competition from China, and as a result of this, government has changed really fees to remove the import duty from 10% to 0%. Here we now is the main producer of flat-grade products, more specifically stainless steel. We are now manufacturing stainless steel pipes. This will why that we are not going to reduce on our import bill for the stainless steel pipes. So the flat-grade products will typically be included rigid, where it is the 10% to 0%, the local manufacturer say for. This also one in the fixed industrialization. We are seeing the creation of jobs, and it's a very, very important facet of the economy. Then we have manufacturers of beer bottles. The paper that is used in manufacturing beer bottles and material for 1 year will be limited from 10% to 0%. And this is the same for both industrialization and how local manufacturers who will be able to support our economy with that. We also have had a change, that's item number 5, on the minerals, waters or other damage. So we will limit the emission from 35% to 0% and raw materials for the manufacturing of mechanical weapons. So these mechanical weapons are still a very highly quality product, but we are manufacturing for Then we also have a special thing on number 6, which is taking in. That taking in is the very, very ultraviolet. That ultraviolet is used still in printing or labels, and these are specific labels used in the manufacture of beer labels and cigarettes. Number 7. We have manufacturers disadvantages. Manufacturers of medicines. Where imported for medicines and tablets have been tax exempt. For local manufacturers who want to go part is medicine packaging material, they are disadvantaged because they pay full taxes when these cartons and boxes come in. So this is an alignment issue meant to ensure that manufacturers benefit also from the market of packaging for medicaments. The other issue is on polyvinyl chloride sheets, where we have a remission from 25 to 10. These are still for pharma grade packaging material for purposes of ensuring that the local manufacturers also have a part they play in this industry. Then we also have aluminium foil, which is reduced from 10 to 0 on raw materials still for the manufacture of pharma grade packaging material for medicine tablets, medicine inserts for the pharmaceutical industry. So still it is to promote and ensure that our local manufacturers also have a role that they are playing in as far as the local manufacturing is concerned. Then for the mattress cover those who manufacture mattresses, we have a very vibrant industry. That is item number 10 of print manufacturers of mattresses. These materials are an addition to enable local manufacturers continue to produce mattresses cheaply, and this will enable stave off competition from imported mattresses from either the region or outside the ESC. Then we've had manufacturers who use the metalwork insoluble coolant. This is used in the manufacture of cold rolled coils from hot rolled coils for this manufacture of steel products. The hot rolled coils come in and they are pickled, and from pickling they zinc coat them after doing cold rolling. So this cold rolling substance is the one that enables them carry out cold rolling, and it's a very vital ingredient in the manufacture of steel, more specifically from hot rolled to cold rolled products. Then we also have zinc coated coils. We have a vibrant industry still on decking sheets. Of late, we have many technologies from the traditional construction
where decking sheets are used as flooring. Instead of casting concrete, the decking sheets come in handy to try and ensure that our construction is done very quickly. Then still on remission, we have manufacturers of bags, more specifically the suitcases. This is also now localized. We have many factories that have set up shop here that are manufacturing bags, and the edging strip, the outer suitcase shell, the interior compartments, the suitcase liner, the fabric material, the telescopic handles. These are bags for our school children. So we want now to transition from handling metallic cases now to these slightly more modified bags with caster wheels for purposes of ensuring that we have local assembly of the same. And these ones help in creation of jobs, and it is also in line with the government policy for industrialization and the National Development Framework, NDP4. So that said, that is about the remission. I'll hand over back to the moderator. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Masiko. For those who have just joined us, Mr. Masiko just presented on remissions, raw material for manufacturers in Uganda. And the idea is to make sure that we reduce the cost of investment and also encourage foreign direct investment, which in turn is able to support our industrial sector and also spur economic growth. So we're going to go to our second item. This is new stage of application for the year 2025-2026. And Jude will be taking us through about the new stage. But before we take us through, could you explain what we mean by new stage of application? It sounds a very complicated word to many of us.
Thank you very much, and good morning once again. Stages of application basically refer to decisions that are made by the Council of Ministers of East Africa, and those decisions are to have us set aside the rates that we have in our common external tariff and apply different rates. Now, those rates we apply can be higher rates or lower rates. So, for example, if product A, in this case, say motor vehicles, in our common external tariff is 10%, a country or a partner state may make a decision to have the same imported into that country at a rate of 35%. That is a stay upwards, but also they could have a decision to stay the rate downwards, say to 10%, and that would be similarly. So a stay in basic terms is a variation from the existing import duty rates that are available in the external tariff. Now, stays of application serve a number of purposes. They can be used as a tool for protection of local industry. That would be in case where the stays have moved upwards, where you're using the higher rates to, one, discourage importation and encourage local consumption of or production of the product, or you can have the stays to a lower rate, and when it is at a lower rate, it is to encourage importation of the product to improve social welfare of the citizens in a partner states, to encourage the importation. So in this financial year, there have been a number of changes in stays, Brian. And I think in addition to the existing stays, these are some of the new stays that are going to be implemented this financial year. The first one we are referring to here are stays of application that have been or modified. This is a stay of application that existed on textile materials and textile fabrics last financial year, where previously we're importing these textile materials and fabrics at an import duty rate of 35% or $3 per kilogram, whichever is higher. This financial year, this has been adjusted. The rate will be now 35% or $2 per kilogram, whichever is higher. This modification or this adjustment in the stay was to address what was considered or complaints of our traders that the specific rate that had been employed on textiles and fabric materials as outlined was considerably higher compared to the ad valorem rate of 35%. So this adjustment is supposed to address that and encourage or harmonize and make the two rates similar. Equally, we have stays on textile garments that were adjusted. Previously, we're importing garments into Uganda at an import duty rate of 35% or $3.5 per kilogram, whichever is higher. And we have made adjustment to that. It's now going to be 35% or $2.5 per kilogram, whichever is higher on the textile garments. The third adjustment we have had on stays relate to polymers or resins of heading 3907 in our common external tariff. This particular heading had a number of raw materials at a rate of imported at a rate of 0%. However, these raw materials, these resins of 3907, we have some of them being produced locally. Amongst these raw materials are items such as polio, amongst others. Uganda has chosen to adjust this rate to 10% this financial year. So this financial year, these rates, these items of 3907 shall be imported at a rate of 10% import duty. We have equally, the fourth item is ceramic tiles, as well as the flags and hats and the ceramic tubes. As you may be aware, East Africa and Uganda currently have quite considerable capacity in production of tiles. And as such, Uganda has chosen the route of protecting its locally manufactured tiles. As such, there has been an introduction of a specific rate per square meter on tiles, and that specific rate introduction is $2. The new import duty rate on tiles as such will be 35% or $2 per square meter, whichever is higher. This adjustment serves mainly two purposes. One is that it enables us to address a challenge of undervaluation. That's one. That a person who imports tiles and chooses to declare an extremely low value would still have to pay a minimum amount of $2 per square meter on it. However, if the values are a little higher, then perhaps they would pay the 35%. So it becomes a control mechanism to address persistent valuation challenges, but also serves to discourage importation of very inferior products, but also to protect industry that is already here and is causing employment, is contributing to the development of the country. We also have a new stay on electricity meters. Previously, imported electricity meters did not have an import duty. There was zero import duty. However, there has been growth in capacity locally in assembly of these electricity meters. And as such, Uganda has been desirous to protect that local industry and has introduced an import duty rate of 35% import duty on all imported electricity meters. Similarly, we have a stay on electricity cables, and specifically the electricity cables where stays have been introduced of those of heading 8544 with specific subheadings as listed in the document that is there, where the import duty rates have been adjusted from 25% to 35%. This is still the intention of government behind this adjustment is still to encourage consumption of locally produced cables. As you're aware, in Uganda, we have a number of companies that have been producing electricity cables for a very long time. And these companies have increased, and as such, government has felt that they will incentivize you by remission to bring in the materials you need to make the cables, but to make the cables locally. As my colleague indicated earlier, Mr. Masiko, you have remissions. Those remissions serve to encourage manufacturing. But the reason they're encouraging manufacturing is to grow import substitution. So instead of going to China, going to India and bringing rolls of cables, bring the materials, bring some copper wire, bring some granules, make the cables here locally, then you can sell them. You'll be protected from someone producing or importing the finished cables. So this stay of application is supposed to support that government policy of import substitution by discouraging importation of the finished cables through making it a little costlier and as such promoting local consumption of locally produced cables. Still in this financial year, we have had stays of application, whereby on float glass that is utilized to produce certain types of glasses, and this this is there's been an increment of duty on float glass to 35% import duty. This still serves the same purpose. We have a number of people who are making wired glasses here, a number of companies that are setting up to produce glass locally from the different sand products that we have here. And as such, government has thought it wise to have imported glass become more expensive, to discourage the importation of glass and incentivize production of glass locally in Uganda or within the East African community. Equally, we have a stay that is applicable on rakes. These garden rakes that we use at home, these are supposed to be easily substitutable items or easily produced items. That it is surprising that until this date in 2025, Uganda still largely relies on importation of backyard tools such as rakes. There is no magic to the production of rakes. When you travel a bit to some countries like India, these rakes are made in cottage industries in our backyards. So government has thought that these easily replaceable items, let's make the importation expensive. Let's have companies mold from steel the heads of the rakes here. Let's use wood that is largely available here. People are growing a lot of pine forests, people are growing a lot of eucalyptus. All these can serve as rake handles. Let these products be made locally, and the only way of getting people to make locally is avail them market. How do you avail them market? You avail them market by disincentivizing importation, by making importation expensive such that you encourage import substitution. Equally, the same argument would be raised for the brooms, that import duty on brooms has been increased, brush brooms from 25 to 35%, still to encourage production of the same locally and reduce on the migration of our foreign exchange to other countries where these things are being made. We equally have a stay on starch, as indicated on the presentation. Shortly, when they scroll, you'll see that starch made from corn, which is basically maize, starches made out of cassava, and these starches are utilized in industries such as confectionaries, in textile industries, in paper industries, government has chosen to increase the import duty on starch from 10%, which is the rate in the common external tariff, to a rate of 35%, because the raw materials utilized to make this starch available in the region, they're available in Uganda. So we want to discourage importation. The people who utilize this starch should source locally from the industries that are producing the same. This way we can have more of our youth employed in these industries. We can have more of the people who produce the raw materials such as cassava, such as maize, produce, and this is how you grow an economy. You discourage importation, you keep the foreign exchange here, you stabilize your currency, and this fits with the general government policy of industrialization. We have additional stays still on home tools, on machetes, what is also commonly called pangas locally, that these are products that are made from simple steel. Why should we be importing them? So government has increased the import duty rate on these from 10% to 25%. Still to fit to the arguments I raised in, on the REX. This is supposed to be an incentive to discourage importation and encourage local production and local consumption of these items. We have plastic safety headgear that are common in the construction sites, where import duty rates have been increased from 25%, from 0% to 25%. Plastic headgear largely is made out of molding of plastic. HDPE plastic, which is high density polyethylene plastics. So government is giving you the plastic raw materials for making this headgear. You can import it without import duty. Make the headgear here, supply the headgear. What government is trying to push is to discourage you from importing the finished headgear. However, if you choose to import the same, then give government revenue by paying a higher tax such that it can be utilized to still incentivize other areas of productivity. The same, we have a stay on hose pipes, plastic hose pipes, like the ones that are used in construction sites, the ones that are used in at our homes for watering the lawns. These hose pipes are supposed to be easy to make. So government has increased the import duty from 25 to 35% this financial year, still to encourage local production of the same. If you recall earlier, when my colleague Mr. Matiko was speaking, government had provided a remission on materials for making scaffoldings. But on the other hand, it has increased the import duty rates on scaffoldings, imported scaffoldings. This means that government is actually speaking the same language. It's speaking a language of import substitution. Produce the scaffoldings here, bring in certain piping, buy some local products, produce the scaffoldings here, it will be cheaper. However, if you choose as a contractor to bring in your scaffoldings from outside Uganda, then you should be ready to pay a higher import duty rate of 35%. Similarly, plastic syringes, I know these are medical items, but we have the syringes syringes are very easy to make. They're different from the needles. Those are the plastic containers that where the medicine to be injected or the injectables are put in. These items are being produced in the region. We have a number of factories in Uganda that are producing a lot of these, and when you visit them, their warehouses are full of these syringes. Unfortunately, this is because it is very cheap to import syringes. So government wants to discourage importation of syringes and encourage uptake of locally produced syringes by making the imported syringes more expensive. Equally, we have a stay of application on wire of non-alloys, steel, wires of 70 to 1710, wire emission, where a stay of application has been imposed, where Uganda shall import the same at a rate of 35% instead of 25% as indicated in the common external tariff. These wires are similar to wire rods that are produced for making nails. There are also wires that are drawn out of, that can be produced very easily here, because all you need is to bring wire rod and draw it. Drawing is making it thin to make it used for a number of activities in construction. Additionally, we have a stay of application on agricultural trailers, where the rate on imported agricultural trailers or imported trailers and semi-trailers, actually not agriculture, but basically the trailers and semi-trailers that are largely now produced in the EAC partner states, to be imported at a rate of 25% instead of 10%. There are a number of companies that are now fabricating trailers. If we went to the road and you see the number of trailers, most of these trailers are actually being made in Kenya, and the number of the industries have also shifted to Uganda. How do you encourage that increased growth? How do you encourage the Kira EVs to venture into production? You discourage importation of the same. So the trailers in this respect are the containers that are pulled by the prime mover, by the truck in front. These are the four-wheeled, non-motorized trailers that you attach to the heads, which are motorized. And other than the steel is locally available, you bring in some tires. We have also companies that are now making tires locally here. So this fits with the whole government plan of import substitution. Identified certain areas you can import substitute, make importation expensive, incentivize local production, and that is how you keep forex here. That's how you grow and you stabilize your currency. Then we have some other construction tools where we have stays of application. For example, the paint brushes, the Bosso frames. These are to be imported at a rate of 35% this financial year instead of 25%. We have road guard rails. The road guard rails, for example, those you see in the highways, equally are to be imported at a rate of 35% instead of 25% because of capacity to produce locally this road guard rails. These road guard rails are made from just thickened steel coils, and then you put them in a molding machine and you produce them. And we have capacity, we have companies that have already invested in these areas, and they should be protected to be able to sell these products and discourage people from going to China and other countries and just bringing the already made road guard rails. Still, under the stays of application, we have chain link or galvanized chain links. You could just scroll. We have galvanized chain links. These are also produced in the region. We have enough capacity to produce all the chain links we need. We don't need to import chain links. We don't need to import gabions, road gabions. The gabions are what is used to stabilize soil or hold soil in either when you're constructing in steep sites or steep areas, or around where there are swamps, or around road barriers. You use gabions. They are very similarly designed as chain links. Just different spacing between the wires, but they are all made from wire rod that is treated, galvanized. And there is a lot of capacity for this in East Africa. So government has thought it wise to increase the duty to 35% from the current import duty rate of 25%. Equally, we have a stay of application on slit coils of 7211, heading 7211 and subheading 7211, 14 and 19, where there is a stay of application, and this shall be imported at a rate of 35% instead of 25% this financial year. Then we have hollow sections, steel under steel. These hollow sections or pipes, these are made from steel coils or steel plates. We could just go to the next, we scroll through. These hollow sections are made by folding. You fold the steel plates or coils, weld it to make the pipes. So other than people importing complete pipes, complete sections, all these hollow sections are very easy to produce. So they are discouraging importation of hollow sections of pipes and instead encouraging you to bring in the hot rolled coils in Uganda, take them through a process of cold rolling them, put them in a molding machine, weld them together, produce the sections, the hollow sections in Uganda, and you will be incentivized. However, if you choose to forego those, investing in those value addition processes, then you bring the complete hollow sections, then they shall be imported at a rate of 35%. So briefly, those are the stays of application. All these are new stays of application, and the bulk of them are being utilized as a tool to discourage importation and encourage import substitution by making the products a little more expensive to import and encouraging you to produce the similar products locally. Back to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chief. That was a very elaborate explanation. Just able to bring out the fact that most of these states are increasing taxes on import duty to encourage you, the Ugandans, to produce this goods locally, and discourage you to import finished products. But I think also what I thought is important is the reduction in the specific rate for garments. I think last financial year we had taxpayers complaining a lot about the specific rate for garments. So we believe that this rate coming down is going to reduce the cost of carrying of garments and also the cost of living, because everyone in Uganda wears garments. So we're going to move to our next section, and Mr. Maspo is going to take us through section C and D. Please, Mr. Maspo, you take the floor. Let's look at C and D.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. As you notice now, the government direction is to create some money coming into the pockets of the citizenry. If you have more factories manufacturing the items that we saw in the preceding text, you notice that the theme for full monetization is real and the government intention is clear. So on the dropped stays as well, the first stay is on motor vehicles for the transport of goods of a gross vehicle weight exceeding 20 tons. There was a stay for 10%. So now it goes back to the CET rate of 25%. The reason why this is being done is to ensure that the manufacturers who have set up shop here are actually protected. We have many assembly plants for those heavy trucks, those which exceed 20 tons. We have the 10-tire trucks, commonly known as Maguru Kumi. We also have the 12-tire trucks, which carry sand. So we have, for the information of our listeners and viewers, a serious installed capacity. We are now assembling these vehicles here. And the reason why there are many on our roads is we are net producers of these vehicles. And actually it's on record that we're exporting these vehicles to South Sudan, DR Congo, and this is now meant to make sure that we develop more capacity, transfer skills to our youth, who in this regard will learn how to assemble motor vehicles, And the intention is that eventually we will start manufacturing certain parts. Like my colleague Jude has mentioned, we are already manufacturing tires. We are looking now more to localization to ensure that we have more of these parts manufactured locally. Then we have load tractors for semi-trailers. These are the ones which pull trucks. We are also manufacturing these particular ones. If you see the long haulage vehicles that transport goods from Mombasa to Kampala, the front part is the road tractor for semi-trailers. That one as well, we are assembling it here. We have very many youth who are leaving universities, technical colleges, coming to join these institutions where they are assembling these road tractors for semi-trailers. So going back to the set rate of 10% is meant to ensure that we actually now solidify and galvanize our position as assemblers of road tractors for semi-trailers. Then we have gumboot linings. We've dropped the stay of application and reverted back to the CET rate. Is that these are raw materials used in the manufacture of gumboots. We are using a lot of raw material to recycled raw materials to bring back to life the gumboots that have gone past their lifespan. So these gumboot linings help now make the gumboot strong. It is the internal part which is looking like a fabric that is used to make gumboots. So here we're also ensuring that we have enough for our people to produce these gumboot linings. Then on export levy, that is part D, the imposition of export levy on wheat bran, cotton cake, and maize bran. There was a slow entry process which required us to introduce $10 per metric ton. The wheat grain is imported at a reduced rate of 10% from 35%. And once they mill it, then the wheat bran is actually now exported back to countries like Dubai. Some of it goes to our neighbors, say the Republic of Kenya. Then it comes back as complete animal feed. Whenever there is maize shortage, then the animal feed prices go up. We find ourselves challenged in a way that people have to actually sell their chicken, to sell their cows, to reduce on the numbers so that they can go through this season of shortage. But with this wheat bran that comes in through wheat grain, having a rate imposed at $10 per metric ton is a slow entry process to ensure that we give a signal to those who are exporting that we need to set up shop here and manufacture these animal feeds from here. And this vital ingredient is now, rate has been introduced to as a deterrent to stop these products from actually being exported. Then the same applies to cotton seed cake. Cotton seed cake, we have a lot of gineries in northern Uganda that are churning out a lot of cotton seed cake. This cotton seed cake is also being exported, and it returns in a much more expensive fee that is tagged to them. And as guided by His Excellency the President, and the budget theme for this year is that we need to process agricultural products, do value addition, and ensure that these products are actually moving out of this country when they are in a much better shape. If we can export animal feed, the better. But exporting raw material is something that the government of Uganda is trying to fight, to make sure that we have enough raw material here. And even if you are to export it, you export it with a higher value. That way the country will benefit more, and we shall raise revenue in the event that the exporters of cotton seed cake insist on exporting. We shall be raising revenue of $10 per metric ton. This same goes for the maize bran. This is a vital ingredient in the animal feed, more specifically cows and chicken. Whenever we have a shortage still, we have similar challenges, and still going by the same principle of exporting animal ingredients. This $10 per metric ton is also acting as a deterrent to stop this from actually happening. Yes, so we'll have my colleague back over to you, moderator. My colleague taking over the infrastructure levy.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Masco. That was insightful. And export levy was focusing more on raw materials for animal feed. We're going to move on to section E. We're going to talk about infrastructure levies. Just earlier on in the week, I had very many agents approach me asking me about infrastructure levy and also those new levies that we have this financial year. So Jude, I hope this explanation will be able to solve and answer most of those questions from the agents and even the internal staff. So you can carry on and read about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Infrastructure levy is basically a tax that was imposed in the EAC beginning 2016, and it was passed by the EAC Council of Ministers. However, countries were given, they were allowed to develop a modus of how they would apply it. And in Uganda, Uganda had chosen to apply it in a manner that it would only be applicable on imports which had import duty greater than 0. So if, for instance, if you imported any item from outside Uganda at that time and the import duty was greater than 0, say the import duty was 4, 6, 10%, 25 or 35 or even greater, this charge would be applicable on the CIF value or in the customs value at a rate of 1.5%. However, this financial year, Uganda, through in the External Trade Act, modified the implementation or has varied the implementation of infrastructure levy. And this is how it shall apply this financial year. It still shall be applicable at an import duty rate or at a rate of 1.5% of customs value. However, now it will be applicable on all goods, all imports that come into Uganda, whether they attract a rate of 0% or even higher. So the main change has been on the type of goods where this infrastructure level is applicable. It's now applicable on all goods. However, there are exceptions that were given to these all goods. The exceptions are the following. One is that all goods that are exempted in our under section 140, section 114 of our Customs Management Act and the 5th schedule, all goods that are exempted in the 5th schedule shall not attract an infrastructure levy. That's the first exception. The second exception is that infrastructure levy shall not be applicable on plant and machineries and goods that are classifiable under Chapter 84 and 85 of our Common External Tariff. That is the second category that will not attract this infrastructure levy. The third exception and last exception will be goods that are exempted under the government operating framework. Government of Uganda, through the Ministry of Finance, has a category of projects it has categorized as special projects. These projects are identified by the Ministry of Finance, and the Ministry of Finance gazettes those projects. Once those projects have been gazetted, most of them are either construction projects of critical industries, like parks, like big factories, like service infrastructure, like certain hotels. Then such categories of imports, as stated, will not attract this infrastructure levy. So suffice to note that is applicable on all imports, one, with the exception of the 3. Those are plant and machinery of chapters 84 and 85, goods exempted in the 5th schedule, as well as government special projects. However, as indicated, this infrastructure levy is applicable on imports. It's not applicable on what we call transfers. Transfers means goods that are produced, goods that are moved from one of the partner states. In Uganda now, or in the EAC, we have 8 partner states, but of the 8, we have 5 that are implementing the common external tariff. That is Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. So if the goods are from there and they have a certificate of origin, meaning they are qualified as originating, they will not attract this infrastructure levy because they are considered transfers. They are called transfers. The next area where we have a new imposition is government of Uganda has introduced an import declaration fee. And this is embedded still under the External Trade Act, but it's also provided for in our East African Customs Management Act. In the ESC, it is only Uganda among the partner states that didn't have an import declaration fee. Kenya has had one since as far back as since 2005. Rwanda has one, Tanzania has one, Burundi has one. The intention of an import declaration fee as provided for in the YACMA is supposed to enable, is supposed to be money ring-fenced to improve on customs operations in the partner states, supposed to finance mechanisms of improving trade facilitation. So this 1% shall also be applicable on all imports, excluding transfers from within the EAC, as I explained before. So the goods will need to be goods that don't originate from East African Community. Those are goods that come from outside the East African Community, or re-import, or are transfers, or they are imports from a partner state but not originating from a partner state. That category is supposed to pay this 1% import declaration fee. There are also 3 exceptions. The exceptions are similar to the ones of infrastructure levy. The exceptions to the import declaration fee shall be goods as provided for in the 5th schedule, which is our exemption regime in our East African Customs Management Act. If something is exempt from taxes as provided for in the 5th schedule, it shall not attract an import declaration fee. 2, plant and machinery of chapters 84 and 85 of our CET or our common external tariff. This category of goods also shall not attract the import declaration fee or IDF. And the 3rd is also goods imported under a government special project, as indicated also in infrastructure levy. Those gazetted goods or gazetted importers will also not pay the IDF of 1%. Similarly, this is not also applicable on transfers from within the EAC. As you will note, these fees require that we make adjustments as as business people, as declarants, our customs agents, and even as customs officers. And our systems, right now we are modifying our systems to collect these taxes directly. However, in the interim, manual mechanisms of collection of these have been employed, where declarants will be expected, 1, to compute the import declaration fee and pay them under sundries. In box 13 of our SAD, our single administrative document, and pay it, and the officers shall verify that this payment has been done of the equivalent amount of the import declaration fee, which is 1% of the customs value. So this is a new imposition, and as such, we need to be able to explain it to our colleagues. The businessmen need to understand that this is a new imposition and is applicable as indicated above. The declarants need to make these declarations and pay for this, make payment of this tax prior to having their declaration processed. It will only apply on IM4s or goods for home consumption. It does not apply to declarations for export. It also does not apply to transit declarations. I hope that is clear.
Thank you so much, Jude. That was a good presentation. And I believe agents have taken key notice because the question that we had earlier on about this new tax, that is the infrastructure levy and also the importation fee that's coming from you. But now that you're aware, I'm sure you will be clear, also explain to the concernees what these levies mean. So we are going into our last segment, that is G and H, and Mr. Masco, you're going to take up to G and H. G is about excise duty, and H is about VAT. So the ball is in your court.
Thank you very much, moderator. Yes, indeed, we are now speaking to the Excise Act that has just been adjusted. Item number 1 is soft cap cigarettes. I will just delve into explaining the difference between soft cap and hinge lid. I know most of you have seen, I'll use this to demonstrate, where you hit on top like this and the cigarette comes out after tearing a small piece. So that one which you hit and it comes out is called soft cap. And hinge lid is where you open like a hinge and you remove the cigarette. But that doesn't mean I smoke. I don't smoke. Yeah, so soft cap cigarettes mean those that are locally produced or which are transferred in the EAC. There has been an increment from 55,000 per 1,000 sticks to 65,000 per 1,000 sticks. Then the imported ones have moved from 75,000 per 1,000 sticks to 150,000 per 1,000 sticks. Then the hinge lid, which includes the local transfers, have moved from 80,000 per 1,000 sticks to 90,000 per 1,000 sticks. 1,000 sticks, I think, is what is commonly known as the bomber. Yes. Then the imported ones, as you notice, have doubled from 100,000 per 1,000 sticks to 200,000 per 1,000 sticks. And those are very important changes. It is majorly to discourage consumption of this product. Cigarettes come with a health hazard. It also comes with a heavy bill on government from the ailments that arise out of cigarette smoking. So unfortunately, the demand continues to grow, and this is majorly an excise rate that is supposed to deter people from actually smoking. On the next, we have an amendment that was made on sacks and bags of polymers. This particular provision under item number 3, let's scroll up so that our members can see it well. Yes, sacks and bags of polymers of ethylene and other plastics of subheading 39, 23, 21, except vacuum bags for food juices and bags for direct use in the manufacture of sanitary pads. So, as you notice, this is the shift from the earlier provision. The earlier provision was covering articles of plastics, and this encompassed other raw materials as well, including granules, including the plastic sandals. The tax had a few challenges, and therefore there was a need to review it and restrict only to a few of these items, which include the bags, majorly Kavera, that we take to the shops, and this should certainly exclude those noble items which must be used in manufacture of, say, juices, tea or coffee, and those are actually very important in manufacturing. There are products which you cannot manufacture without using plastics. So these have been excluded. So the current position has been repealed. There is a new position, but the rate still remains 2.5% or US dollars, $70 per metric ton, whichever is higher. So when the computation is done in this regard, you look at the rate that appears highest. Then we have also had a repeal in the VAT Act of billets. Steel billets, these are raw materials used in the manufacture of steel. They come in billet form, and we have now developed capacity locally as Uganda. In the hills of Kigezi, there are iron ore deposits of almost that may take us for another 200 years. And when you look at the government program, which is mineral beneficiation, we have to exploit our minerals and add value. So we have seen factories transform this iron ore into billets, and from billets into wire rods, and this is saving the country a lot of revenue that would have otherwise taken outside to buy these products. So VAT on this particular product has been reinstated. The intention is to encourage local procurement of these products so that as a vital ingredient, and please note, steel is one of those important sectors that drive this economy. So an intervention of this nature is bound to create jobs. An intervention of this nature is bound to do what we call import substitution. All these are goals in the NDP 4 and the Vision 2040 for the government of Uganda. We thank you so much. Over to you, moderator.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Masiko, for that illustration. Though on a lighter note, I thought the disclaimer should have come before, not after the illustration. Because the illustration was so perfect,
and soft cuff.
Okay. So we've come to almost an end of our presentation. But before we leave, I want our panelists to give us a parting shot. And I don't know whether there are a few questions there online, and then we shall be able to call it a day. So I'll begin with Jude. Do you have a parting shot on this year's policy changes?
Yeah, thank you very much. Basically, the government policy, as indicated above, is one, designed to improve our operations, customs, but two, it is to encourage local production. That government has a master plan of import substitution, and most of the policies put in place are by design to support local production and discourage importation. What this speaks is that we are going to have a lot of imports, but the tax yield from this a lot of imports may not be very high. So it will call for us to be very efficient, very diligent. Whenever we have items where rates have been increased, specifically on top of state, what happens is that we have a lot of migration to the edges. That a number of taxpayers, if you see who used to use product X, all of a sudden will indicate that now they're using product Y. And this calls for us, it calls for the business community, it calls for the declarants, be vigilant, but also it requires that the declarants and our dear taxpayers do the correct thing. They don't engage into migrating, because the operators on this side are aware of what happens when rates are increased. We hope that these changes this financial year will spark growth as a revenue body, that this will encourage investment, and with increased investment, I think we all stand to benefit as a country. We believe we shall get more revenue, we shall be a more prosperous country when we align and invest in accordance with what government seems to be aligning, or government seems to be encouraging, which likely is import substitution.
Thank you so much, Jude. That was a good parting shot. We're going to go to Mr. Masiko, and let's listen to your parting shot. I've been informed by the team upstate that we have a few questions as well. So shall wait for them to come at you.
Okay, thank you very much. Indeed, when you look to the theme, the budget theme, there is a lot of commercial agriculture, industrialization, then broadening services and digital transformation, then market access. Ladies and gentlemen, as the Customs Department, we have what we call the incentive guide, which we encourage you to access. You will notice that we need to support our manufacturers, we need to support parties that are involved in commercial agriculture. And when we now look at where we are going, the regional economic communities, we have now signed to the African Continental Free Trade Area. That one is a very big market for all of us in the African region. We're supposed to promote intra-African trade. After now managing to do a lot in the EAC, we're now looking at outside markets. And Uganda has now exported milk outside the EAC, precisely to Algeria. And with that, it shows that the African market is open to Uganda. The African market is open to all of us. So as officers of government, as URA, we need now to speak the message of the African Continental Free Trade Area. That way, we will be able to encourage our traders to move from trading now to producing, which will create jobs and will bring money into the pockets of the citizenry. We thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Masiko. It was good. Nice person, short. My team behind, do you have any questions? Just one or two? Okay, so I'll wait for the team to give us the question one or two. I think we need to appreciate the fact that these price changes have come in to create opportunity for investment. So most of the Ugandans out there who are looking for jobs, you need to position yourself and take advantage of these opportunities. Where we have raw materials, import rates being reduced, means we want to import those raw materials at high price. Where we have import rates increased, finished products, it means we want to manufacture those finished products. So position yourselves with these opportunities and take advantage. Then to enable our economy grow.
Maybe to add on that, yes, as we talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area, it will be majorly based on rules, the rules that will require the traders or the people who want to deal in products across the African continent to be conversant with the trade rules, more specifically the rules of origin. So we'll need to produce as manufacturers, blending our production in accordance with the rules of origin. So it is a document that can also be accessed on the URA website. Let us embrace regional economic communities. Let us embrace the bigger market that the government of Uganda is trying to get for the citizenry. Over to you, moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Masiko. That was a good feel. The questions are coming in, and the first question I should go to Jude. This was a subject to discuss. No more light.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think the first question we see here is on whether we are going to collect the areas on the 1% that I believe that is the import declaration fee. Is that the gazette that was published for imposition of the import declaration fee was effective, I think, July 3rd, if I'm not wrong. And yes, it is true that in collection of taxes, we have mandate, and the mandate is that this is a public position, is that the taxes are payable. And there are a number of mechanisms that the tax body uses where taxes have been short paid. I think the customs law allows customs to review transactions for a period of up to 5 years, just like it allows you, a taxpayer, 1 year to claim back any taxes wrongfully paid. So yes, the organization will explore its mandate, And these taxes will definitely be collected because they are government revenue that is supposed to be collected within the time frames as indicated in the customs law.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jude, for that explanation. We still have any other questions? Okay, there's one here. All safety gear seem to be made. That's good for subheadings that will be rated under the 60506. Was this also produced or from Mr. House? Safety gear.
Okay, I will speak to this equally. It is true that we have an increment of import duty on plastic safety headgear, but you realize that headgear can be made of more than plastic, a number of materials. They can be made of, they can be metallic, they can be plastic, they can be composite, they can be made out of carbon fiber, and carbon fiber is a type of plastic. Fiberglass is also a type of plastic. However, if the safety headgear is entirely made out of a product which is not plastic, say metal and the safety headgear, yes, you will not be required to import it at a rate of 25%. And we are in position to cause demarcation as implementers or as a customs body to separate those that are plastic from those that are not plastic. And if it is not plastic, it's not fiberglass, it's not a variant of plastic, then definitely the import duty rate applicable will not be affected by this this particular change.
Thank you so much, Jude. That was a good observation. Any more questions? There's been one more. Mr. Masco, you could add on that as we wait. The question has come. Okay. We missed the part of scaffolding steel cartons. I think that the want us to go through the scaffolding part. Maybe Mr. Masco those who missed.
Unless there's displayed.
Yeah, can we display? I know what scaffolding to the beginning.
Yeah, briefly, the scaffolding pipes that we initially had in our earlier text is that we have a remission of duty on scaffolding, the raw materials used to manufacture scaffolding. The intention of government is to ensure we substitute our trees that we use for construction to now use metal, and you can only make it cheaper by having a remission and having them locally produced. The second part was about melamine resins. We mentioned that with melamine resins, there was a remission of duty from 10 to 0. These are used in manufacturing of melamine plates, also bowels. So these ones are coming in from China very cheaply, and they threaten to outcompete our local manufacturers who are manufacturing this. So they have made a plea to government to allow them to remit the rate to 0% so that they can manufacture these, give Ugandan jobs, and are able to compete favorably with imported ones from China. The next one was ink. My apologies. The next one was on the flat rolled products, which are indicating that we have local manufacturers of steel pipes. Stainless steel in this regard, not ordinary steel pipes, stainless steel. These ones are used in the food industry. They are used also for high pressure appliances, and stainless steel is now the new industry that we have on board manufacturing, and so there is a need to incentivize it to remit the rate from 10 to 0. Then the paper was measured from 10 to 0. Those who manufacture beer labels and cigarettes, this is basically to the printing industry. So for manufacturers of those products, they will be enjoying a rate from 10% to 0%. Then the next one was on liquors or varnish. Still, when you manufacture the metallic labels, there's need to have a coating on top of the label, and this is the importance of the lacquer or the varnish in this regard. Then before the cartons, as he mentions, we had the printing ink, which is also the ultraviolet ink, which is metallic ink for basically publishing, and also the cartons and boxes for corrugated papers. I'm sure that is where he said I had missed up to. We're also trying to incentivize local medicine manufacturers, because the raw materials, when they come in from China, boxes to manufacture kabuti, which is a local medicine for cough, that box outside is imported at 0%. There's no tax, but the local manufacturer who brings in raw materials to manufacture that box pays taxes. So this is majorly to rationalize the tax and ensure that even local producers can also supply the manufacturer of syrups in Uganda. So I believe that's where the question stops. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Masiko. It was a good presentation, and thank you, my panelists, for sharing that knowledge. It was relevant and quite important. So at this juncture, we are going to close today's discussion with wish